And that brings us to our term, the Bildungsroman genre. Okay, and that really just means that this story is a coming-of-age story, and we see that transformation. And one of the key motifs is the use of swans to visually represent that message, so that we clearly understand that Billy is moving into the world and that he's being emancipated, that he's being freed from the shackles of society. So no longer is he constrained and confined by all those expectations in his town, in his country. He has entered into this world of beauty and elegance. And that brings us back to the swan, doesn't it? When we think about swans, they are magnificent, unique and very elegant creatures. And they interestingly, they find a mate and they couple for life. So they're very much companion animals, and so they're associated with emotion and that type of thing. So that all works really nicely in building this message of Billy. You know, he's born into this into this mindset. It is who he is, and he's able to overcome the obstacles of society to achieve his own beauty and elegance. Another really interesting motif to explore is the piano, because it's symbolic of Billy's mother. You know, that is the memory they have of her, and of her love and of her maternal influence in the family. So when the film begins, she's passed away, and she's absent, and there is this huge void. You've got these three men or three males living in the household, and they're struggling to keep it together for a number of reasons. And the piano is the grounding influence. It's like an anchor. It keeps them all stable in the one spot, because it is the main physical sort of reminder they have of their mother. So it means a lot to them, to all of them. And at the start of the film, early on, Jackie closes the lid. And that's really sort of conveying this idea that the maternal influence of the mother, the world of love has all gone. It's gone from the household, and now we're just tough working class men, and we're going to get on with it. But we see Jackie's transformation, because later in the film he has this quantum shift. He does move from just being stuck in that mindset of his working class town and his values, but he sacrifices all that. So he goes through a transformation himself. And so near 3/4 of the way through the film, Jackie pulls the piano apart and uses it for firewood. But it's more than that. It's really a symbolic moment where he's letting go of the things that are tying them to this house. And so it's his sacrifice. It's one of his sacrifices that enables Billy to be able to be freed. So it's going to allow him. That's what's holding him in the house, and this is a step allowing him to do that. On a very quick tangent, I think that scene on the bus where Jackie goes to the mines, and he has to cross the picket line, and he's inside basically alone in this shell, and all the miners are outside basically rioting and swearing and hurling things, and there's that real extreme sort of violent sort of episode there, and that shows the sacrifice that Jackie makes for Billy. It's a huge thing that he does to cross that picket line. And I call it a picket line because the strikers basically form a line, a barricade, to stop the bus being able to go through, stopping the workers being able to get into the mines, the non-union labour. And Jackie has to swallow his pride, and he has to sacrifice all of what he holds true, what he's been raised to believe is true, all so he can get some money for Billy, so Billy can achieve his dreams. And it's his way of getting him, freeing him from this this life that he's destined to follow. So that's a really interesting thing. So they're motifs, they're visual things that we can see. Now, very similar to a motif is a symbol or symbolism, and that the main difference, I suppose, is a motif generally is something that you can see, and a symbol can be an idea, really, or a concept, but it can also be an image. It can be, an object that conveys a deeper meaning as well. So they're very closely related. And so we could look at the symbolism of yellow, of the symbolism of the colours that are used in the film. And so when we meet Billy, he's wearing a yellow singlet. And if you look at the other characters, the other men, they're generally wearing hard-wearing, denim-y, big sort of bulky clothing, and here he is in this little yellow singlet, which gives him a lot of freedom. But what the colour does is it sort of symbolises his passion, his vibrancy, his enthusiasm. It singles him out as being different and that he's special. And I think that's the thing. He's a breath of fresh air in this town. And when we do look at how contrast in colours used, contrast is used a lot in the film, but if we look at colour contrast, the colour of what Billy represents is contrasted to basically everything in Durham, the mining town, and a grey colour palette's used for that, where it stands in contrast, in direct opposition to all the things that Billy believes, or it's sort of it's innate within him. It's not that he's thought about it, it's just his natural way. And so you have this tension, this conflict between the two, and it's shown through the use of colour symbolism. The next feature we're going to talk about is contrast, or we can call it juxtaposition, or we can call it binary opposites. But quite frankly, I think that it sounds pretty fantastic to use the word juxtaposition, but I think I personally like this idea of just using the simple term of contrast, and if you can explain it and explore it, demonstrate you actually know what it means, it's going to serve you so much better than trying to make it look fancy by using the word juxtaposition. But basically what there is in the film is there's a tension between opposing forces, between these contrasting ideas or images. And so some of the contrasting ideas and images are the home and the mines, boxing and ballet, the contrast between masculinity and femininity and all that encounters and entails, and this contrast between restrictions and freedoms. There's a whole lot of them that we can look at. And so contrast is used to really enable that conversation and allow us as the viewer to really sort of engage in the situation that Bill is in, because it is this these contrasts that create the tension, the conflict in the story, because these values and these physical places and even the sporting or cultural sort of activities are all butting heads. They're all coming into conflict, and that's causing the tension of the story. So if we talk about binary opposites, we can say that in literature and in film and storytelling, that the world can be seen in binaries. They're extreme, polarised sort of ideas. We've got ballet and boxing here at either extreme, and that they're in direct opposition to each other. And basically, I've used the term here antithesis. So boxing is the antithesis of ballet. So we could look at those binaries and talk about how boxing it represents the masculine realm, and it encompasses violence and gendered language and these type of things. And then we can look at ballet and look at how it's the diametrical opposite of that. And so it's just a way of viewing the world and seeing that it is the tensions between the binary opposites that they're sort of competing for the outcome of the narrative. And so when we look at that, we can see that in this film, the everything that ballet represents is successful, you know, and it you know, the film is quite unique in the sense that it does challenge all those traditional stereotypes and assumptions, all the gender roles that have you know, we've just inherited. It challenges those and presents another view, an alternate view, and so that's the idea of this feature of form. So you can talk about contrast or juxtaposition as one entity, and you can set up an argument and talk about the binaries of dreams versus reality, for example, if you're going to build a theme like that. You know, you can talk about them as separate entities as well. So I've put here that Billy must navigate these sort of realms to discover his true identity and also to achieve his true life's calling. And that's what the whole film, you know, that's how the film is set up. And the last device we'll talk about is foreshadowing. And this is sort of like a, it's almost like a spoiler, I suppose. It's not really a spoiler, but it's more where the viewer is introduced to an idea that's going to, you know, generally early in the film, but before it appears in the film later. And it's normally a significant thing, and so you're just given a little hint, and that sort of starts to build your frame, and it makes it more significant when you arrive there. So early in the film, we do see shots of the miners' strike, and what they do, or their purpose is to just simply foreshadow the conflict that's going to occur later in the film. So, you know, as Jackie's narrative arc progresses, he gets to that point, as we were talking about, where he has to make that sacrifice and he has to swallow his pride. And so we see this scene where he does confront the miners, and he's on the bus, and Tony, his son's on the picket line, and so it is a really climactic moment, and it really does it does sort of create a great sense of drama. It's a very effective scene in presenting that, you know, and after, you know, like once that's occurred, when you get to the end of the film, and Tony and Jackie and Billy have all been through this hardship, and when they when Jackie and Tony go and watch Billy perform Swan Lake, it's a really cathartic moment, not only for Billy but also for his brother and his father. Okay, so wrapping up, I think that it's the combination of all of these filmic techniques, all these features of form. It's the really artistic, the well chosen. It's the deliberate use of these devices that provide the integrity for this film. Okay, so it's not reliant on one particular filmic technique to make Billy Elliot a great film, worthy of your study, but also, you know, it's a memorable film that it was made in 2000 and it endures today. It's still relevant today. It's still, seen as a really valuable text, and it's because of the skillful artistry of combining all these things to tell this story.